Greetings, race community. Brent coming in live with today's guest, Todd Moxley, who is the founder and managing partner of Pledgemine and my new colleague. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, Brent.
I am sure many of you listening have caught wind of the fact that EverTrue has joined forces with Pledgemine. We recently acquired Todd's business after many years of getting to know Todd's team and having many mutual customers who have really been raving about Pledgemine's approach to personalizing direct mail in a really scalable, high-impact way that is very much on demand and in line with a lot of the trends that are reshaping marketing and sales more broadly. And as we learn more and more about how that work was advancing and frankly started brainstorming with some of our trusted customers, it just became clear that there was a big opportunity for us to do more together. So welcome to the show and to the team, Todd.
Super excited about it, and thank you.
So we are going to try to stay true to form with our agenda here, with our typical approach. And I will say that it was a couple of weeks ago now that you shared with me that you had a big high school reunion. Now, I won't say to our audience which one, that's your decision, but one of our favorite questions has really been to just better understand the higher education journey of our guests. You know, ultimately we could all be working in other sectors, but we've chosen to build companies, in our cases, in the higher ed sector. Our audience has chosen to work in the space because we believe in the mission and the impact. So tell me more about that high school. Who was that guy and what led him to Wheaton College?
Well, that's a great question. I guess some humble beginnings, because I was a farm. My grandparents owned a farm. Spent a lot of time on the farm as a little kid, and in a rural community. That's where I grew up. And so,
can I ask the name of the town?
Waseca, Minnesota.
Okay.
That's the town, Waseca, Minnesota. And the town had a couple large businesses. That's how a lot of these little towns survive. And one of them was a large printing company that my dad worked at. And in high school, I ended up getting a summer job there, which became more of a year-round part-time work whenever I could do it. And I think during that process, I realized that I didn't want to stay in this little town the rest of my career. I wanted to find what else is out there. I don't think it was a best fit for me. So yeah, but it was great. And it was great to go back and see some of my friends, some that still live there, some that were visiting at the reunion like I was. And it was just great to realize what a great community was that influenced, who I am and who the rest of my classmates are. And I think I put a lot greater value on the community that we had and just the how we shared, in just our lives with each other. And it was very different than an urban climate like I live in now. But it was great to reconnect with some people like that and rekindle some friendships.
So Waseca, Minnesota is a 2-hour and 25-minute from the farm I grew up on in Northeast Iowa. Waseca, town of around 9,000 or so, which I would have considered the big city for whatever it's worth. But, that's the Midwestern thing. It's like whose high school was smaller, sort of a badge of honor. But you knew you wanted to maybe spread your wings a little bit, get out of the region, or at least the immediate vicinity. What was your college search like? What was that experience and what led you to Wheaton?
Right. Well, I'm a runner. I was a runner at the time. I competed in high school, ran in the state meets, finished very high. And so I was recruited a lot by the University of Minnesota, some other state schools. So fortunately, I had a lot of meets where I was away from home, and my dad would end up taking these phone calls from coaches, and he was kind of my blocker for me. I was more interested in a program, a closer community, I think, and the school's values were important to me. And at one, I didn't really visit that many schools, but one of the opportunities I had was to visit Wheaton College here in the Chicago area, and and it just seemed like a great fit. Just the teammates and the coach all had just a very welcoming, and it just seemed like the right thing. And so it was easy for me to make a decision to go that route.
And so you joined Wheaton College. You did do cross country, so you had sort of a built-in community as you got settled in at Wheaton.
Right.
What was your favorite cross country experience during your time at Wheaton?
Well, I did run cross country and track. Cross country is kind of for those purists. It's only running, and it's a great fall sport. Oh, that's a great question. I would say probably my most cherished memory was I was fortunate to actually run on a couple European teams in the summers. These were track teams that my coach put together. We had some awesome national caliber athletes that were on the team. I was also running, but I was more in the logistics side of things. But anyway, so it was really fun. We ran in both Western and Eastern Europe at the time. That was before the Berlin Wall was torn down, and anyway, so just an awesome experience. It really broadened my sort of appreciation and understanding of different cultures and different countries that I would not have been exposed to earlier. So it was great.
Very cool. And as you were starting to think about career paths, you had exposure to this print world in high school.
Right.
How much did that ultimately end up informing the journey that you went on that ultimately has led us to connecting?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I think there were probably two things going on. One was I always had a sense that I like to run my own show, have my own business. I always had a confidence in that, not knowing that every little thing I needed to do, I knew I didn't have every skill I needed, but I was certain that I could figure it out, that I would either find people or find answers and be able to solve problems. I wasn't really intimidated. I had some early painting businesses, and even in college, I had a small advertising gig that I was doing on the side. And I was very confident that that would work. So so that was going on. I didn't really know that I didn't really have that much of an interest in printing per se, but I had this knowledge, and I was in these big press rooms in the bindery area, and I ended up working for a publication in 2 years out of college, and the one day I was actually selling ad space at the time, and the production manager walked by and said, we've had this one problem and we're trying to solve it, and it has to do with how how the magazine comes together. And I said, I think I know the answer to that. And it was based on how the magazine is assembled. And so I described what her choices were. And that then led more questions from time to time. And I just sort of absorbed this knowledge from working on the machinery, although I really didn't know anything about printing at the time. But I continued to be interested in that. And eventually, I started a business in graphic design, and then I ended up buying printing as really my main job. So that just grew and grew over time.
And ultimately, you got to a point where you decided that it was time to start Pledgemine. And it sounds like entrepreneurial by nature, not intimidated by the challenge of getting something going. But what was it where you felt like, you know what, there needs to be a more focused more specialized approach, especially within the higher education advancement sector? Because let's be honest, this was a mature sector. You know, there, from Waseca, Minnesota to all over the country and world, there were no shortage of options, but you still saw a market void. Tell me more about that initial kind of insight and the steps you took to start the company.
Well, you know, I know at some point, as I'm thinking through different influences, there was someone early on that was a mentor of mine, who he was actually the father of one of my close friends. He worked for the printing company. He was one of their top salesmen. And I would only see him a couple times a month, maybe, just, you know, whenever he'd happen to be around. And he, I don't know why, he would say, you know, Todd, I really think you need to build a, you know, find your way. You know, you've got to find a way to build a niche and then, you know, just run with it. And that voice sort of continued to, I wasn't really sure what he meant by it, but it was interesting because as I worked with my alma mater on some projects, the idea of this solution came about. And I wasn't trying to start a company at that time. It was just a product that we developed for them, a solution that seemed to have a sweeping application, because it was really grounded in technology. It was grounded in being able to provide a very specialized solution that could be adapted to many different situations or outreaches.
So tell me more about the problem and how you would define it. And I think what's great about, you know, your approach, it was so organic. And look, my experience was volunteering for Brown and sort of seeing, you know, getting a window into some of the systems and data. And it just seemed like there was so much potential. It seems like you had a similar window at your alma mater, and it just showed you problems that maybe were solvable. What were the problems?
The main problem was when students would make phone calls to talk to alumni, they would send sometimes a personal note back to the donor, thanking them for the time on the call. The annual fund director wanted to make it even more personal. She wanted to build a stronger connection with each donor. Some alumni were really receptive to these students calling, and others weren't. And she thought, you know, this is a special moment when a donor or even a non-donor, so alum, can have a reconnection back with their alma mater. And she wanted to just try to make that a rich experience. And so she asked me, what more could we do? And so that's where we thought, well, why don't we include a photograph of the student? And why don't we talk more about some of the things, the major that the student's involved in and other personal interests of the student, and tie it to the conversation that they had with each other. And so that was really the idea. And I fortunately knew how to build a database and the digital print side from my background in graphic design, how to bring these pieces together and create a piece that could be mailed out to donors. And it would be dynamic. Each one was unique. Each one spoke directly to, you know, that conversation. So
and so step one was really, it sounds like, running a pilot or running a test. And ultimately, when you did that, what did you learn? Because you very well could have run that test and realized, you know what, glad we did that, or we learned something new. But there's not a company to build here.
Right. Well, so the interesting thing that I think happens, and you know, I'm somewhat removed from this, but I would hear, because I'd visit this client, the annual fund manager there, on a regular basis, and I found out that they would get letters back from donors and alumni. Some of them, most of them positive. Occasionally they get critical letters, but the interesting thing was, some people that started writing back and saying, thank you for the picture of John or Susie, and the student that they talk to, it's very meaningful to me to know an actual, that have a connection with the student. And then later, we even got reports that some of these donors were keeping the students' pictures on their refrigerator, and that was their way of reminding them of what their gift is doing and what it's going to, and just more of that close-knit community that the school has with the current students, and then the broader alumni. So I think that was some early feedback that showed that it was making a difference. I don't think we actually, I only later learned more about some of the analytics part. It was more this just human personal connection that was the initial driving force to keep expanding the program.
Yeah, I think I love hearing that story because it is so reminiscent of what I hear from JD, our colleague, as he tells the story of starting ThankView. And I think a lot of what you were trying to tap into via direct mail in a truly personalized, on-demand manner is exactly what JD and the ThankView team tapped into as it related to connecting video from a stewardship and annual giving and major giving perspective. And that's why it has been so fun to begin collaborating together, because there's such mission alignment, but we're also seeing such a clear opportunity to connect these offline and online channels. And as much as we've been champions of digital and social media and video at EverTrue, it has been, I am a student of sales and marketing, and it has been remarkable to see, from e-commerce juggernauts like Shopify to brands like Bonobos, how much direct mail, when married with digital marketing, can increase conversion and order volume in the for-profit world, or conversion and giving volume in the nonprofit world. And so we're just so excited about the opportunity to really tie together the best print on-demand personalization experience with the best video stewardship experience, and then build the analytics engine behind the scenes while orchestrating those touch points in a way that hopefully evokes more of that emotion of the donor, being able to have that right there on the refrigerator, being able to experience it on their mobile device. The open rates of email are sub 10% in many categories at this point. We do much better than that via ThankView. But open rates for direct mail are measured to be as high as 90% in 2022. And there was an amazing study that Shopify put out just in May of 2022 that really highlights the ROI potential of connecting offline and online channels. And that's what we're going to do together.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think, people expect, I think in general, we're more sophisticated in terms of we know what to screen, we know what's important, and we become adapt to our inbox and can quickly just scan it and say, oh, that's not, it only takes a few seconds to determine whether or not that's something I want to spend more time with. The mailbox, it has some of the similar qualities, but when things are directed to you personally, and it's a personal message, or it's a message from a relevant source, or in this case, like an alma mater or an institution that you are supporting, you have time to actually, you're building rapport. And one of the things that I think of is we have so many times we focus too much on this one effort, how much impact and what results are we getting from this one piece. But really it's a story that lasts a long time. How are we telling a story or building a rapport with that individual over a period of time? We met a few months ago for the first time, and each time we talk, we get to know each other a little better. We know more about each other's personality, how to make you laugh, how to, what you're excited about. And it's the same thing happens. And so, I think with donors, as we build that communication, we want to use these different tools to our advantage at the right time and in the right pace and from the right voice. And I think our underlying technologies are really allow us to do that very well for our customers.
Yeah, look, my mother visited me recently, and just as she has the last, I don't know, 50 times that she's visited me, she had a few pieces of mail that she brought with her that she wanted to make sure that I saw before they, before we discarded. And it's just funny because I think about that like tactile experience and the fact that she does that. She doesn't forward me a lot of emails. She certainly never prints off emails and then brings them to me. But you can bet every single time that she visits me or my brothers, Brad or Blaine, she's got something for us. And we see it and we think about it. And even if it's not something that we're going to immediately act upon, it is a part of awareness in the context of the marketing funnel. And in some cases, it can literally serve as a sticky note effectively, or a task reminder, the way that people sometimes will act upon that. And that all being said, I think one of the really exciting opportunities in this next chapter is to really focus on attribution, right? As we are able to distribute content across channels, ThankYou being one channel, Pledgemine being another channel via print, we are now getting the ability to really tie those campaigns to donors, dollars, and pipeline in a way that hasn't been possible before. And I know that you've done some great work with some of your customers like Hope College to really tie direct mail spend to ROI. But I think we can take it next level to really focus on donors, dollars, and the pipeline generation piece that oftentimes is just a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's an exciting part of it. It's so important to be able to plan and strategize a campaign, look at the results, what did you learn from them, and how do you make adjustments to it? And you have to be able to bring it full circle. You have to be able to have accurate, to be able to make good decisions. And so having that feedback and measurable reporting is very important, and we're really excited to be able to make that more of a continuous loop, and develop technologies that help indicate where to go, what to do next.
Well said. Tell me a little bit about the Pledgemine team. What is Pledgemine today for our audience that is less familiar? Recently joining the EverTrue portfolio of brands, but just tell me about the operation. Who are you, and what's the kind of status quo?
Sure. Well, we started 13 years ago. Again, humble beginnings with a single digital printer and our basic application, and started with just a few accounts that I had developed relationships with, and as I, at that time, because I would find myself every night at the post office, putting the stamps on mail and making sure it'd go out. I knew that this had more scale, and as time went on, I was able to get some students involved, making phone calls and reaching out to other annual fund managers to talk to them and introduce them to the product. And we started winning more business and added more equipment. We've been through we're in our third location now. We have a beautiful 25,000 square foot facility, our own plant here in Warrenville, Illinois. There are 32 employees here. We have our own dedicated production team, of course, with all our presses are here. And we do everything from start to finish. So for our on-demand clients, and a lot of our clients are on-demand solutions, when data comes in the morning, it's on press within an hour or two. We assemble that mail and it's ready it actually goes in the mail by 5 o'clock that evening. So that's one of our work streams. The other one is scheduled larger campaigns, but everything happens within our facility. We have a dedicated client service team, and they manage all the projects that our clients do. But we're self-contained. We don't rely on other vendors to manufacture the pieces. I think it's part of our core promise that that the information that comes in is personal and private to the university, and we are proud of our ability to control every aspect of that until it's in the U.S. mail.
Love it. And I know that you've really spent a lot of time thinking about building your team, and we're thrilled to welcome your colleagues to our team. But just tell me about kind of the work you've done to train and recruit leaders.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's probably one of the most rewarding parts of what I do. This isn't my first business that I've owned. I've owned a number of businesses over the years, and it's awesome to be able to find talent, find people that have better skills at different things than me, coach them, and just groom them, I guess, in their role. I'm fortunate to work with a lot of young people, a lot of early career individuals, and it's just really awesome. It's great to see them take ownership of things and run with departments that I only had an idea of what that could be, and they're actually making it happen. And that's just probably more rewarding than anything. So I'm just proud of them and happy that we can work together. So I don't really want to take credit for it because it's all their work. I'm fortunate that I've got great people, great loyal people, and we have a great community here and a great culture. We all work on it. Sometimes we disagree on a few things, but generally, we find a way to respect each other, and we have just a great culture. So,
love it. Well, it's been fun getting to know your colleagues, and we'll have a lot more collaboration here in the coming weeks and months. But I think just for folks listening, we're eager to get your feedback as well. If you're familiar with Pledgemine, would love to get any insights or perspective. If you're not, take a look, because I think for much of our history at EverTrue, we've been trying to evangelize completely new concepts, new strategies, new sources of data, new approaches that were unproven. And I think with Pledgemine, we're just so excited to add a channel to our portfolio that every single one of you listening to this podcast, your institution is already making investments via the print channel. And we are very confident that both on upfront data enrichment, segmentation, and personalization along the way, plus better attribution on the back end, we're going to be able to take things to the next level. And so it's a new space for us, but it's not a new one for Todd or for any of you listening. And so we're just really excited to finally be able to offer a critical leg of the stool, if you will, as we think about the future of annual and major gift fundraising. Todd, any other, thoughts or perspectives that you wanted to make sure to share today, or as you were kind of even evaluating, hey, should we kind of keep going it alone, or should we consider, joining forces with EverTrue and thank you and our colleagues? I mean, I'd love to kind of know,
Right.
what was going through your head during that process.
Yeah, well, I guess I think I would share that you've summed it up really well. But I think that as I developed the company, I was trying to prepare it for this time. I didn't realize it would be, us working together, of course, way back when, but knew that at some point, what we're doing would be stronger with other other partners or other technologies. And so that's, I think, the main thing. It's just awesome to be at this point where we actually can now begin to work with each other and coordinate a solution that creates a very powerful tool for customers. It's not just in one individual thing. If you're going to build a piece of furniture, you can't just do it with a table saw. You've got to use many things to get that finished piece. It involves sanding and some router work, and you have to join things together, and you use lots of different tools for the finished product. And this is just an ad hoc analogy. Hopefully it holds true, but that's kind of how it is. There's so many things that you have to be proficient at, and that's true of fundraisers today. You need to be able to find those tools that will be effective in growing your file, and how do you continue to build a mature file that's healthy and raises major donors out of it, because that's really ultimately where that's the main fruit of what our key audience is doing.
No doubt. Look, it's about efficiently personalizing relationships across the giving pyramid. And that's hard. And there are sliding scales of personalization when you look at historical giving and wealth and other indicators. But every single donor deserves as personalized of an experience as we possibly can deliver, given the realities of budget and staff and so forth. And so I think it's our job and our peers as vendors in the space to just work and innovate and try to find ways that we can make things a little bit more personalized to a few more people every single step of the way, because it's clear that the combination of online, offline, social, just orchestration in general will allow us to continue to go deeper in the giving pyramid than we're able to today. And we're thrilled to have you on that journey. And we'd asked you what you think the next step forward for the advancement industry should be. And you said innovation, strategy, mentorship, and vision. And I can't think of four better words that encapsulate what we try to deliver in the podcast and through our content, at EverTrue. And now with Pledgemine in the mix, we're going to be able to, I think, even further highlight innovation, strategy, mentorship, and vision. So thank you for trusting in me, Todd, for your belief in our team, and for your willingness to partner here on this next chapter together.
Well, thank you, Brent. Looking forward to more time, just making everything work together. So we're
no doubt. I was gonna say maybe we could go for a run sometime, but I'm not sure that that's going to be how we run our one-on-ones. Who knows?
My racing days are over. I just run now. I don't.
Fair enough. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Todd's journey, and please give us feedback on this one. It's a special, exciting moment here, and we're going to do our best to make the most of this as you all work to maximize the potential of your giving pyramid. And with that, Brent signing off with my new colleague, Todd Moxley, who's the founder of Pledgemine. Take care, everybody.